Good morning and welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And I'm delighted to have with me on this program, Bandula Jayasekara. Morning, Bandula.
Good morning, Father. So what happened? You look very dapper in your suit last week. What happened to the suit?
To tell you the truth, I forgot. There you go.
I'm sure you'll remember it tomorrow.
And we're also joined this morning by Herman Gunaratne, planter and deputy chairman of Kawata Plantations. Very good morning to you, Mr. Gunaratne.
Morning, I'm privileged to be here.
We are glad and delighted to welcome you on our network. Tell me, what has aroused your conscience? Is this the import of tea into this country?
Yes. The import of tea, I think, is a matter that is being promoted by people who do not seem to understand the consequences of what they're trying to do. It does bother not only my conscience, it seems to bother and affect the livelihood of almost 2.5 million people who are employed in the tea industry.
Right.
Number one, the Sri Lanka teas sell for the highest price of tea in the world. And not a single kilo of tea at the auction is ever left unsold. So the contention of those misguided people who are recommending that we import tea into this country is just because our prices are high.
I see. They're trying to drive the price down.
They want to drive the price down, according to them, in order to capture other markets.
Herman, who are these misguided people?
They are some tea traders. You know, what I would respectfully ask you to consider is that the plantations are owned, one by the big RPCs and then by the smallholders. So the tea crop belongs to them. It is they who have to determine the method of disposal of their tea. And none of them are ever interested in this so-called importation of tea. Now, I will deal with this. Number one, why does Sri Lanka get the highest price for tea? Number one is because we are the only people in the world who have a system of manufacture called the orthodox system of manufacture. That is number one. Now,
Does that mean it's sort of pure?
It is the original system of manufacture that was in existence in the country. You know, not too highly automated.
Right.
You know, it seems to be the preference in most parts of the world.
All right.
Now we are the only people who make it, but I don't know for what reason we have allowed some Indians to come in here, and in a small way they have emulated our process of manufacture, effectively building up a competition to our own teas. Now, that's number one. And number two, and more importantly, is that the Sri Lankan teas have the lowest occurrence of insecticides and pesticides. Now, what happens? Now the Greenpeace Society, you know, those people made an investigation into the Chinese teas. And they discovered the Chinese teas to have something like 13 or 14 insecticide and pesticide residues.
How many do we have in our teas?
Residual levels are very minute, but the world considers Sri Lanka have to have the least amount of insecticide and pesticide residues. In the low country where we come from, we don't spray anything for any insecticides because it's biologically controlled. So what happens is, supposing by some misfortune, tea is going to be imported here, and that is obviously going to be mixed with Ceylon tea. Then what happens? You tarnish the name of Ceylon tea with these insecticide and pesticide residues, because all the developing countries subject the tea to some very stringent tests. So you know,
which we don't have here.
We also have the tests. I mean, the thing is, we don't have to be so stringent about it, because our insecticide, pesticide levels are low.
But how could we even call it Ceylon tea if they are going to mix it with these things?
That's the problem.
That's the problem. That's the problem. You know, I would like to respectfully tell you this. You know, if you talk of tea, the symbolization is Ceylon tea.
And that brand, isn't Ceylon tea a registered trademark?
Ceylon tea
with the
lion.
The lion.
Land logo registered here, but I think we need to get it registered all over the world.
You mean after all these years it hasn't been done?
Not to the best of my knowledge. However, what they do is, they use the euphemistic term, you know, packed in Ceylon. Now that attempts to deceive the customer. Because the customer, when he sees the word Ceylon, packed in Ceylon, what is the interpretation that he gets out of it? You know?
It's just packed, yeah, it's not
packed in Ceylon, they assume it's a Ceylon tea.
So I think I'm getting it now. What you're saying is that the cheaper and inferior quality teas will be imported. It will be blended with a modicum of Ceylon tea.
Yes.
And then it will be exported purporting to be pure Ceylon.
Using various euphemisms.
Yeah.
They may not say this is Ceylon tea, they will say packed in Ceylon. Or contains Ceylon tea. Contains Ceylon tea, you know.
But why are we committing harakiri?
I mean, this is what I cannot understand. How anybody can destroy a brand that has been built. I mean, it's the most enduring brand in the world.
Yes.
It's not Rolls-Royce, it's not Johnny Walker. It is Ceylon tea. That is the most enduring. I mean, if you go to South Africa or you go to the wildest parts of the world, they will know what Ceylon tea is all about.
Yeah.
So how somebody is even contemplating diluting that and destroying that brand is something that I cannot conceive.
So you've made, your industry would have made representations to the Ministry of Finance, the Prime Minister,
The Minister of Plantations.
the Minister of Plantations.
This comes under him.
Our industry, unfortunately, has made representations. However, the representations do not manifest the views of the whole society. You know, there is a misnomer in this country. You think that the plantations are today run by big multinational big RPCs. They are not. The bulk of the plantations are on
Sorry, what are RPCs? Just for the
regional
record.
plantation companies.
Thank you. Right. So they're not run by, they run their own little.
No, the regional plantation companies run a segment of the plantations which originally belonged to the British and then to the Sri Lankan owners, you know, the larger plantation. But the bulk of the production comes from the smallholder sector. And the smallholder is voiceless. I mean, see, he is inarticulate. He does not know what's going to happen to him. He does not know what importation of tea means. You know what I mean? So only he will realize it with frightening clarity only when the market starts dropping. You know, I mean, what I say is, if we are having no tea unsold, if every kilogram of our tea is sold at the highest price for tea in the world, what is the need to interfere with it?
What is the Minister of Plantation doing? Because I thought his father was a Minister of Plantation.
Minister of Plantation, I think, has indicated that he doesn't want to do it on his watch. And I mean, I was attempting to have a press conference about this matter because I was feeling deeply concerned about it. And then I referred it to the President, to His Excellency the President. The President's office told me that they are not going to permit this. Now, that is so. That may be so. But what the country needs is a declaration that they are not ever going to do this because it is in the budget. That they're going to permit the import of tea.
With all due respect, Herman, this budget has got so many things that were proposed that are now not there anymore.
So many plastering.
Yes, there's lots of plastering.
I know. But you know, today, the most enduring legacy this country has is the tea industry. We have tried to have very many things to as an alternative.
And we are known as the tea country.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing has filled the void of tea. It is the number one foreign exchanger. There is a misapprehension in the minds of our people thinking it's garments. It's not the garments. Because that's 95% exported and 5% value addition. Here it is 95% local and maybe 3 or 4% value addition. So that is the comparative importance and significance of the tea industry.
So, and for us, I must add that, when I served in 3 countries as a diplomat, this tea helped us to get in first. Then only we walked in. So they welcomed us because of our tea.
I'll tell you a nice anecdote. I was talking to the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who I must say didn't possess the knowledge that I would expect a head of state to possess about the tea industry. But he said to me in Sinhala, he said, Herman, Mama India vata gihama Narendra Modi bonne Dilma te. එතකොට ඇෆ්ගනිස්තාන් එකට ගියාම හමිඩ් කරසායි බොන්නේ දිල් මතේ. ඉතින් මට ලොකු ආඩම්බරයක් මේක. He told me. When he said දිල් මතේ බීලා එමිනිහා කරදරෙත් වැටුණා. Because he has been drinking a cup of Dilma tea with the label outside. And the Indian fellows kicked up a big row,
But let me add for us, see, I was so proud. I mean, I had the opportunity to go for the Ashes in Australia. In the Bradman room, it was our teas. It really made me feel happy. The Bradman room.
I want to play devil's advocate here. So what if they bring the teas? Will it affect your exports of the finest teas on earth?
If you are asking me personally, nothing will affect me. Because I am selling tea
at the top end.
At the highest price for tea in the world. I sell a particular type of tea at $1,500 a kilo. So don't talk about me.
I want to warn you that this program is watched by the taxman. By the taxman.
I want to also tell you that I have made a declaration.
As long as we get that right.
However, okay. Why are they trying to import tea to Sri Lanka? Ostensibly will be because Sri Lankan teas are the highest priced teas in the world and they cannot trade competitively with such high priced teas. There is a paradox there. However, the tea is being sold, so I can't see the reasoning there. Now, the moment they bring in cheaper teas, a proportion of that is going into the blends, larger or smaller proportions. Then the proportion of the intake from the auction is going to reduce. So the Ceylon tea prices are going to go down.
You've explained it ever so simply to two people who only know how to drink tea. Have you not tried your luck with the Minister of Plantations? It's Naveen, isn't it?
Naveen Disanaik.
No, I haven't. I personally haven't. But the Private Factory Owners Association, my colleague Mr. Merrill Fernando has made representations. I personally haven't. In fact, I was, when I heard that, both from the presidential office, when I heard that this was not going to be pursued, I didn't want to make a issue out of something that is not going to happen. But what I would earnestly seek is a declaration from the government.
Herman, also like my friend Faraz in this program had been giving a voice to the plight of the plantation workers. What is, because he's really been several times have been brought, their situation. What are you all doing to improve the standards?
I will tell you.
We're going to start this, but in a few seconds we're going to take a break. But we will come back. But yes, what the point of the plantation workers, it really does arouse the conscience of people.
The plantation worker is a man who has contributed the most to the enrichment of this land. I mean, there's no question about it. Now, why can't you pay him more?
To find out why we can't pay the plantation workers more, we'll do that straight after this short commercial break. Stay tuned. Good morning and welcome back to Newsline with Herman Gunratna, planter and deputy chairman of Kawata Plantations. Yes, tell us, Mr. Gunratna, why is it that the lot of the plantation workers is so abysmal?
Yeah, it is a historical feature that the plantations were mainly hierarchical in their structure. So during the colonial period, the plantation workers were brought to this country from India and they were given pretty basic accommodation, which was quite adequate and acceptable to them at that time. But events have moved forward.
Yeah.
And today we need to definitely provide them with better accommodation, better wages and better conditions. Now in some places that is happening. That is definitely happening. They are getting better living conditions, they are getting better wages, but they need to be paid more. That I can see. Now how do we do this? I can tell you that in the organized plantation sector, that is the RPC companies, they are all running on the smell of an oil rag. So in order to pay them more, they have to earn more. Now, apart from earning more, they are losing money. They are losing billions of rupees.
Why?
That is the problem that we need to address. That is the problem that we need to address. Now, there are many reasons for that. I think I don't want to make this too technical, but you know, all of life is very simple. All of life is very simple. Now, my experience, and this is my personal experience, I bow to people who have better knowledge about what goes on.
Yeah.
My personal experience is most of the plantations in this country have a high level of soil acidity. The soil acidity level is well below 4.5 pH, just to make it technical. Now at that level, the only thing that will grow is cactus. If it declines below that, even cactus won't grow. Now how do you control this soil acidity? It's by the very simple expedient of adding dolomite, which is available in this country.
Through my earphone, I'm being a viewer has posed this question about this refuse tea, kasa latte.
Yeah.
And what kind of impact is that on the Sri Lankan tea industry?
Out of the refuse tea, there are some very big tea traders who make enormous profits. It is not refuse tea. I think that is a wrong interpretation given to a type of tea. I will explain that to you.
So what is refuse tea really tea, then?
Yeah. Now we have about 20 tea factories. In each one of these factories, when we finish our process of tea manufacture, there is a certain element of tea which is a mixture of stalk, fiber and a component of black tea. Now, I will explain what we do. We take that tea and we take it to a refuse tea processing center, which is of our own, which by the way makes the biggest profit.
Right.
It makes the biggest profit, more than a big plantation. Now, in that refuse tea, you get about 15% black tea.
Okay.
Which the traders in Gampala and Ambalangoda, mainly the people who are involved in this extraction of refuse tea are the Muslim traders in Gampala. They are very clever at this extraction. They extract the black tea from this. Now that black tea is not in any way inferior from what we make in the factory.
No.
Because it's black tea. And it conforms to the...
So they separate it?
They separate it by various means. I mean, they have got their perhaps primordial means of doing it. But they do it. They do it very effectively. And so do we. We do it on one of our factories. And that, by the way, makes the highest profit. So now, because of the stigma attached to the refuse tea, they are unable to sell it. So what do? they surreptitiously send it to the big buyers. Now, as long as it's illegal, the bigger buyers hold a gun and they can get it at any price. What I say is, if it is black tea, if it conforms to the ISO 3702, put it into another auction. Let everybody come and bid for it. You know what I mean? Because, and then if you are looking for, I mean, we are looking for cheap tea. Here is cheap tea. Why do you want to get it from another country?
Another viewer is asking, saying that when this government came in, they said that they will give a reasonable price for tea, that they will obtain reasonable price of tea for both up country, low country, all the teas. Apparently this has not happened. What are you all doing about it?
There is nothing that we can do about it. Price for tea is determined by the price in the marketplace. Now, at the risk of being frowned upon by the bulk of the people, let me tell you, the tea industry enjoyed very buoyant times up to about a year ago, where they were getting 100 rupees a kilo. Okay? Now the prices have come down, and I do not personally believe in market intervention.
But Naveen Dissanayake is proposing market intervention.
I mean, good luck to him. If that is his philosophy, it's not going to work.
He says he wants money approved from the cabinet to buy tea at the auction to stabilize the market.
Market is, I think, getting stabilized now. Tea prices are moving up. You see, this is like any other commodity. Oil prices, we were all holding our hands in horror when they were high. Now they have dropped. So these are cyclic. Tea prices were up, they were down, and it's going up again. What is market intervention going to do? I mean, it is only going to entail in an enormous amount of corruption.
Right.
I can tell you that. Like what happened when they subsidized the green leaf supply. It ended up somewhere else.
Is the tea board effective in this country, or they are just doing nothing? I heard there's a new chairman being appointed.
A good friend of mine, and I'm hopeful that he'll...
Rohan Petiago?
Yes, a good friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. I have great faith in him. And I do hope, if at all anybody can do something, it is Rohan. You know?
It's a little small club, I take it, this industry. Is it?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Because I'll tell you why my conscience is again getting aroused here. You've just told us that the Sri Lankan tea is the finest teas on earth. It fetches certainly the highest prices. But I see very little difference between the conditions of the workers in the tea industry, as in the plantation, the tea pickers, and their counterparts in East Africa. The poverty levels and so on, it is heart-wrenching, Herman.
Absolutely.
I remember going as a 10, 12-year-old to a relative's tea estate. I've been back since several years thereafter. Their life hasn't really changed that much.
No, I think that is a thing that must weigh on the conscience of this whole country. Because these people have contributed so much and they have got so little back in return.
But isn't it time to walk the talk?
Yeah, it is. It is. And the more enlightened plantation companies, including our own, are having a system of giving them better accommodation with twin house, cottage type housing. It's not enough.
No.
It certainly isn't enough. But we have made a start, and we are going forward with that. However, it is interrelated development. It's like this. Until you improve the profitability of the plantations, which I respectfully say can be done, and it is the least addressed issue, the profitability of the plantations can be improved considerably, you know, and the moment that happens, maybe we can compel the plantation companies to deploy.
What about the likes, about the likes of Tondaman and Digambaram? Aren't they also having a good time trampling this plantation?
They are thriving on poverty, They are thriving on poverty. As long as these people are ill-educated, ill-housed. Take for instance the recent occurrence at Miriabad, where there were 300 people who were the victims of an earth slip. Digambarams, Tondamans, everybody went there and they promised them housing overnight. Even to date, they are living in an abandoned tea factory. So I think the plantation, it's a tragedy, it's a real tragedy, that the Sri Lankan mainstream politician, and I'm using the words advisedly, are relegating the plantations to these adventurers like Tondaman and Digambaram. What's wrong with Gamini Disranka got the highest number of votes in Norelia, not Tondaman, not the big Tondaman. So what I'm saying is, they must not be told that their representatives are only their people. We have to go in there.
You come from a bit of a political background. Have you not tried to go and see young Naveen and tell him and bring you up to speed on this?
Well,
to emulate his father, perhaps.
I must tell you honestly, till you gave me the privilege of coming here, I have stopped trying to change the world. Instead of which I am trying to now practice everything that I know.
We don't want you to change the shape of the wheel, but we are trying to tell you is that nowadays you can run flat tires too. You don't need.
I
don't need air.
So what I told, I know what you are trying to say. We were on the Tea Council. I was on the Tea Council, which was supposed to advise the country on how the tea industry should be run. Nobody took us seriously, including the then President, then Minister of Plantation Industries, Mahinda Samarasinghe. So, where I am concerned, the politicians are coming out of my ears, frankly. I wouldn't mind if I'm going to be listened to, but they all listen to you patiently and do nothing.
But isn't that part of the secret of giving good advice? The possibility that you will be ignored.
Well, I don't mind being ignored, that's not a problem. But I don't want to waste my time giving advice,
Does your son listen to you?
In most instances, he does.
He does.
But I don't interfere with him. I have my own views about his politics.
Yeah.
I don't advise him either way. He has made his bed. He will have to sleep on it,
Your grandson was attacked.
Yeah, so was I.
So, coming back to this problem of the tea industry. So you have an undertaking from the powers that be that the tea imports are not going to happen.
Yes.
So,
do you believe it?
You believe that?
Well, I know the President, and there is no reason for me to disbelieve it, because it was told to me by a person in his office, and he said, look, I have been instructed to communicate this to you. So there is no reason for me to disbelieve that, number one. But I frankly would look for a declaration from the government that the tea importation is not ever going to be done under this administration. That's what I would look for. And well, let's hope. But now that you're here, one of the most important things that we need to address is this question of refuse tea. You made that point. Now,
we have a few seconds, so you need to be quick.
So what I'm saying is, in a nutshell, I don't want to get into technicalities. What I say in a nutshell is legalize it. It is only when controls are there that people, untidy things occur.
So it looks like the objections and the concern raised by people like the doyen of the tea industry, Mr. Merrill Fernando, hasn't been in vain. It looks like it has made a difference.
I think he has single-handedly fought this question of when the situation is endangering the Ceylon tea.
Good.
I think Merrill has come to the
Thank you very much for having come on the show, and we look forward to welcoming you another time, another place.
It'll be my pleasure to come here.
And thank you, Bandula. And there is a lot of difference between listening and hearing, and doing too. On that note, have a great day, take care, and God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.